My name is Juliana, and this is my journey to motherhood. I have two beautiful girls, Georgia and Holly, but it was a crazy ride to get them here. I don't want to say I wouldn't change anything. There were definitely some lows, but it's my journey. And now I've found a way to represent my journey, or anyone else's journey to motherhood, through jewelry. And I'd love to share it with you. When I was 21, I lost my left ovary and fallopian tube to a very large tumor. And it wasn't certain if the tumor was cancerous, and I was rushed into emergency surgery to have it removed. So I didn't know if I was gonna wake up without a uterus or not. But I do remember waking up from anesthesia and my eyes were still closed. And the doctor was really close to my face, and he sort of whispered to me and he said, "You can have your babies." And I remember smiling and closing my eyes, and I was just relieved. But then I thought, wait, why did he use that phrase? That sounds like something I would say and not something that a physician would say. And what had happened was when I was going under anesthesia, I was talking about my babies and wanting to have them, and I don't remember saying that, but he did. So he said that to me when I woke up, which means a lot to me. And it's obvious that I wanted to have my own children, and having children was a very important thing to me. I mean, I was coming up with baby names since I was 5. I've had my favorite names. And there are pictures of me stuffing my bathing suit with water balloons to make myself look pregnant, things like that. So really, for a long time, I've wanted nothing but to be a mom. Even after biopsy of my tumor, the doctors could never tell me why it happened or why I got it, and whether or not it would happen to the right side. So I felt this rush, sort of panic to have children right away. My parents tried to have my eggs frozen, but at that time it wasn't as popular or as easy to do as it is now. Also, the doctors said that the hormones I would have to take to freeze my eggs may cause another tumor growth, so we decided not to do it. 10 years later, I met my husband, and 3 years after that, we got married. And 2 months after that, we were pregnant. So my uterus and my one ovary did a great job, because I never knew if I would actually be able to have children. And there I was, miraculously pregnant. It was great. So we waited about 1.5 years to try for a second child. And we thought it would just be as easy as the first, and it was not. So about 6 months of trying, we started doing all the testing. We did all the blood work and the semen analyses and the hormones and the genetic testing, and anything that we needed to do, we did it. We did 2 IUIs that were unsuccessful. And then I saw a fertility doctor who prescribed progesterone. And I started that, and boom, I was pregnant, and we were happy. And at my 8-week ultrasound, the ultrasound technician had to leave the room, which is never a good sign. So I knew that something was wrong. And the doctor came in, and they told me that the baby had made their little home in my only good fallopian tube. So I was already bleeding, and so I had to have emergency surgery to remove that pregnancy. And the baby had a heartbeat, and so it's kind of a hard thing for me to talk about. But after that surgery, we still wanted to move forward, trying to get pregnant, and I did ask her to save my fallopian tube, and she did, but now I was at a higher risk of having another ectopic pregnancy, so we just decided to move forward with IVF. We began our IVF cycle very soon after I recovered from that surgery. So we got 10 eggs, so we fertilized all 10, and after 5 days of growth, we ended up with 3 embryos that went to genetic testing. So 2 of those came back as normal, and 1 embryo is my daughter Holly, and the other one we just recently transferred, and unfortunately it did not work. And I was completely blindsided. I thought it was going to work because Holly is here right in front of me, and there was no reason for this not to work. They were the same quality embryo. So for the past couple weeks, I've been grieving pretty hard about it. I've been feeling very guilty and blaming myself, just wondering why and what I did. You know, she was so real to me. For the past 3 years, I've known that she was there in some freezer somewhere just waiting to be a part of our family. And Georgia and Holly knew about her, and they were excited to be, you know, big sisters to another baby. And so one thing I've been asking myself is, where did she go? And I've been answering that question with some terrible thoughts. But I was crying to my dad, and I said that to him, and he said, well, she's a part of you now. And I am accepting that. It makes me feel better. I think it's a really good thought. And I believe it. She's a part of me now, and always will be. So what this jewelry meant to me 2 weeks ago is now so different than what it means to me today. You know, I understand all the reasons why somebody would choose to wear this jewelry, whether it's in happiness and celebration of your success, or if it's needed as comfort because you've gone through a loss. I do think that's something that's beautiful about this jewelry, is that it can really adapt with you and your journey, and that's why I created it, to give everybody a chance to represent their personal journey and hold it close to their heart and never forget it. Never forget what they've gone through, what they've struggled with, what, you know, happiness they've had and what sadness they've had, because it's your life. And why not hold it close and let it be there all the time? I spent a lot of time coming up with the name of this business. I wanted it to be meaningful, smart, catchy, but also create the necessary emotion that this jewelry should evoke. So I brainstormed a lot, and finally I was with my girlfriends one day and I was brainstorming with them. I just was frustrated and I said, I just need something that means tiny spark, because that's what an embryo is. It's a tiny spark of life. And then it hit me, like ember. Yes, that's it. And ember means tiny spark, you know, that tiny spark of light, of fire that grows and grows into a bigger fire, and just made total sense to me. I actually was thinking about naming my first daughter Ember before I named her Georgia, but I thought, this is such a good way. Now my business baby can be called Ember instead of my real baby, since I didn't use the name. I went home and I told my dad about the name, because he's been a huge help in this whole business creation journey of mine. And I said, what do you think of Ember? And he was like, great, but maybe you should think about changing the spelling. And I was like, yeah, Okay, EMBYR. Because now the word ember looked like the word embryo, and I had married the two ideas, embryo and ember, tiny spark, into one solid business name. Keep your babies close to you, always, no matter where they are. Saying that out loud, it still makes me really emotional. I lost a baby to an ectopic pregnancy, and they already had a heartbeat. It was discovered I was already bleeding internally, so it was a really quick surgery that I had to have, and that baby was taken from me. But I'd like to think that their spirit is with me all the time. So wearing this jewelry is a way for me to keep that child close to me and remember them and never forget them. It's also a way for me to keep my children who are here with me forever, because they're gonna grow up and they're gonna travel the world or get married, move away from me, hopefully not. But you know, this jewelry is a way for them to also be with me always and remember the time that they were little and they relied on me so much for everything. And I never want to forget that or take it for granted. On the day that Holly, my second daughter, was placed into my womb, that was called the embryo transfer day. And I really didn't know what to expect. I walked into this dimly lit room and they told me to get under this nice warm blanket. And I was laying there and the doctor came in and handed me this photo. And it's a picture of my Holly. And I didn't expect it. This is a 5-day-old blastocyst, and this is what she looked like that morning. And I just loved it so much. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and I couldn't stop staring at it. And even when I wasn't looking at it, I just held it right here during the whole procedure. And the protocol is that the embryologist then comes in and they talk to you. They leave the room, but they're right next door. And they have special equipment that they use to show you the embryo live on this big screen. And so I'm laying there holding my little blastocyst picture, and then it shows this embryo live, and it had started to hatch. So this little part right here had grown into a bigger circle. So it actually looked like an infinity sign, like that. And the doctors thought that was so cool. They were like, oh, it's a forever symbol. And I thought, that's really cool. I have to incorporate that. So I didn't think of the jewelry right away, but this picture lived on my refrigerator throughout my entire pregnancy, and I loved looking at it. And I just thought, how can I keep this picture with me all the time without just getting it ripped up in my wallet or something? And so that's when I thought about it. I was like, we love wearing meaningful pieces of jewelry, and I've got to make this into something like that. So I started to sketch, and I drew so many 5-day-old blastocysts on whatever I could find, papers, random Post-it notes, and napkins, whatever it was. I just sketched and sketched, and every time I drew it, it got closer to what I really wanted it to look like. I knew immediately how I wanted that main embryo to fit on the chain, and I also knew that I wanted to incorporate an infinity sign. So I decided to place it on the back near the clasp as a way to feel like you're part of a secret club of warriors who have gone through so much to create life. And forever, to me, means, again, wherever your babies are, they're with you forever. Ember is for anyone who's had a journey to motherhood. This can mean infertility, fertility, it can mean miscarriages, IUIs, multiple IVF cycles, it can mean surrogacies, adoption of embryos, or a combination of all of those things. I know many people who've gone through years of fertility treatment and IVF cycles to find success, and this jewelry can remind them of the hard work they went through to make it happen. And many people are still on their journey, and this jewelry can be something to hold on to and give them strength to keep going. I have a few friends who've been surrogates, and this can be a beautiful gift on both sides of that. I've also been connecting with some embryologists, and this jewelry can be something that represents their life's work. Same with fertility doctors or physicians or just science nerds that love it, and they want to represent what they do in a piece of jewelry. Let this jewelry be a symbol of something you can hold on to, something that represents what you've been through, something that makes all those feelings worth it, and something that you can wear close to your heart every day. Keep your babies close to you always, no matter where they are.